And a very good morning to you from us here at Thornybush. I'm your cameraman Brian. The long-awaited time is here. We are going live from Thornybush, bringing you the live safaris. We are going to be revealing our secret guest presenter very shortly. I'm sure many of you out there have been waiting in quite intense anticipation for this moment. So I will be switching over to him now. Ooh, gave a little bit too much away there. Yeah, we're very excited to get going, and I'm really keen to get out there and bring you some live footage. So now, with all this technical equipment here, I'm going to switch over cameras, get a nice frame on our presenter, and bring him out to the rest of the world. So, switching over now. Here we are, and now without any further ado, our live presenter. Oh, isn't he a beautiful man?
Good morning everybody and welcome. Some of you may remember me. My name is Mark and I'm so glad to be back here. This is my office now for the next couple of months, and I've missed it. I've missed you. It's nice to be back. It's a wonderful opportunity to come back here and see all of you, but also to be the presenter for this next few months of live presenting, live drives here at Thornybush Game Reserve. Nice to meet Brian and the crew. We'll talk about them as we go along, and I'll fill you in on how Thornybush fits into the whole Lowveld or Kruger Park ecosystem, and hopefully we're going to get some interaction from you too once we are on drive. And well, without further ado, we've all been waiting for this. We've all been very excited, and it's time to go. Let's get going, see what we can find for you. Funny, I never thought I'd be nervous, but suddenly I am.
All right, ready to rock and roll.
So, new and improved jigger. Jigger, for those of you who are new to us, is what we call this vehicle. It's a really fantastic piece of equipment. One of the best off-road vehicles we can think of. Short wheelbase, which makes it easy for us to get into really tight. And this is Thornybush. This is Africa. You ready, Brian?
I am ready.
Nice to be working with you.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited to get cracking out here.
I am too. And wow.
Here we go. We're off. Finally.
Finally. So, what's very interesting about things right now is that in some cases things are simplified, in some cases they're a little bit more complicated. After the years of perfecting things in one particular system, we've now actually changed the system a little bit. Fortunately for me and for our office as we drive around through the bush, it's a little bit more simple. The equipment that we have on the vehicle, we no longer have the 250 volt system full of 12 volts. So, no longer inverters, no longer that kind of a thing. But what makes it more complicated here on the jigger is that we have different cameras, and that is going to be exciting because no longer do we just have a single camera at the back. We've got the one that I can talk to, we've got the one right at the back, plus we've got the one in the middle. So, let's do that. New crew, get me on the old crew. And I don't mean that, I only mean that because you guys. A little bit. Down back to the front control. Since this is a test drive, since we are, I guess in a way, with us, going back in FC, different FC. So, bunch of fun. What we're doing is we're heading down towards the Thornybush River now. Thornybush is a wonderful little piece of land, kind of between my home up in the Thornybush and Sabi Sand, which is further south from us, the world-renowned Sabi Sand. Thornybush is getting its own reputation. It is not contiguous with the Kruger National Park. It is a self-contained reserve. And being a self-contained reserve, there are going to be things that, well, it's just exciting. I don't know even where to begin telling you about what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be looking for. But it's just going to be fun. It's going to be really great fun. Now, what we're doing now is about to approach the river. We're going to cross the river, head onto the northern side of the river. I think most of our stuff is going to be looking at animals on the northern side of the river. And as the dry season wears on, as the winter wears on, animals are going to start coming down to be closer to the river. And for a change, we have a river that has water. Really. Oh, look at that, there's a buffalo. Off the back. Let me just see if we can get level and still pick it up. Is that okay, Brian?
Yes.
Do I need to be more level?
No, that's fine. I can adjust here.
African buffalo. A lot of people might think this is the water buffalo, especially on account of the fact that they do lie around in the water a lot.
Great start to the day.
It is. What's that flying above it there? Is that a fishy? Maybe a vulture. A bit far. Huge raptor flying behind the buffalo. This is what we would call an old dugger boy, an old bull who has no longer is hanging around with the big breeding herd, an old bull who has decided he wants to retire. This is his retirement village. It is an area of the riverbed. There's good grazing, there's good water to wallow in, there's good water to drink to. And he'll spend his last days just hanging about in these reeds. See, the big breeding herds need to cover a lot of ground. They live in large groups. Large groups, being a relatively bulk grazer, these are animals that eat a fair amount of grass. They do need to move constantly. And when these old bulls get to a particular age, they're no longer reproductive, they're no longer engaging in breeding behavior. I guess you could say, or in animal terms, it's what we would term it senile. They don't want to be moving with the herds, the noises of the cows and the calves, and they just want a little bit of peace and quiet. And so they do get a little cantankerous. They do get a little bit aggressive with humans, only I guess because in the past they've been hunted, and well, as humans do come across as hunters. We've been part of the ecosystem for a few million years, and the behavior of our ancestors is ingrained in their memory. It's only with modern photographic safaris and the modern behavior of passive animal watching that animals have calmed down considerably. And this is going to be a wonderful thing about what we're going to find here in Thornybush, especially with some of my favorite animals. Only guides are allowed to drive around here. There's a very strict code of conduct regarding the way the guides drive around Thornybush. And as a result, the animals have calmed down considerably towards the vehicles and towards the people in the vehicles. I'm hoping we're going to get to see some of that. And I'll be able to discuss how it differs in different areas that I've been, from way down south in South Africa all the way up through to northeastern Kenya. I've been in very many different areas of Africa. I can tell you about comparisons between animal behavior and animal distribution. I want to tell you about plants and their distribution and what we have here. But also, I would like you to be asking questions. I'd like you to be sending us questions that will be relayed to me through this little piece in my ear from what we call final control back at camp. And that is going to allow me to talk back to you in real time. And, well, with the buffalo resting up over there, I think let's move on and cover some ground. I've got to remember this. Yeah. Yeah, because it's coming from the sides. Wind is blowing straight down the river. And maybe Graham, because this has been my ear, or Rob. Email addresses, is it questions@wildearth, or one thing I didn't think of, which I should have thought of. What is our email address? This is a test drive. We're going to have to talk about a few technical things through the drive, inevitable, setting the microphones. We've got different microphones on the vehicle, so we want to make sure that the two microphones aren't interacting in a way. And we can get those things sorted out with the different cameras. This one here, the one right at the back. I'm not too sure which one is operating at any one time, but I'm just going to... Top mic. That's what? Channel 1. Okay, so questions are not working right now. Because this is a test drive. This is our... What we have done is we've done a couple of test drives up till now, but that was mostly to test our signal range. Okay, so channel 1 got yes confirmed. Thornybush itself is roughly about 30,000 hectares. Translate that into about 70,000 acres. This is of course a considerable size. Big enough to have the big five. Big enough to accommodate a couple of herds of elephant. Lion. We're going to be concentrating on following individuals, because being some of them being territorial, but some of them also being confined to Thornybush, like the elephant. You know, it's not like being part of Kruger, where I live. There are a lot of elephant that come past my house, that are individuals that I know, that I remember from time to time or over the years. I've become familiar with them, but there are a lot of elephant that'll come through that I've never seen before. But here in Thornybush, elephant are not territorial. They will move around considerably, but we will only see the same, well, certain individuals. It's a fair amount of elephant. I have to confirm the numbers. Lion and leopard, of course, are territorial. So, to be honest, it doesn't really matter whether there are boundary fences or not when it comes to lion and leopard, because being territorial, they wouldn't go beyond their territories anyway. And once we dispense with all the formalities and technical things of the test drive, and once we're on the way, I can give you the histories of some of the cats that we have here and who we are hoping to find, especially a cat, that a particular cat, might I add, lives around camp, near camp, and her cubs, and hoping that we're going to be able to keep track of their lives. We're going to have 3 months of an interesting season, an interesting time of the year. I guess you could call it fall. I guess as we're going into the next month, we're going into winter. So although we don't really have distinctive seasons here in Africa, sort of summer just suddenly becomes winter. What is quite amazing right now is that we've had very late rain, so the bush is very, very thick. It's still quite green, despite it being mid-May already. And what we're looking at right now, the amount of greenery, is what I associate with end of April or mid-April, rather than mid-May. So things are a few weeks behind, which of course is wonderful. There's still a few insects about. Funny enough, there's still some spiders, some of the big golden orb spiders. I found quite an anomaly the other day, a marula tree that still has green fruit on it. Now that's 6 months late. Now I don't know where I'm going. I've never been on some of these roads. It is such a vast network of roads that in the short time that I've been here, I've managed to cover a few roads, especially the areas around camp, and found some wonderful little waterholes and pans that we're going to visit, because I have no doubt that as the bush starts drying out, they're going to start attracting a lot of attention. At the moment there's Nyala and Impala and buffalo and various zebra, giraffe. But being still in summer dress, the animals are quite spread out, and I think it's going to be very interesting over the next couple of months, so how we're going to see not only the bush changing. So what would be interesting is for you to take note. We don't notice the gradual changes, but if we have to see what the bush looks like now, and then you take a snapshot halfway through, and then in 3 months' time, when we're sort of ending off, we're going to see a completely different bush altogether. It's going to be a lot drier. The leaves are going to be falling from the trees. It's going to be a little bit more open. So from that point of view, it's very, very interesting. I see that there are a bunch of vultures. Some of these roads are quite eroded, so it does get quite bumpy in places. Try and calm them down. See if we can get some of those vultures. Now, what they're doing is it's finally warming up. Temperatures are fairly cool in the mornings, but it takes a while for the thermals to begin, and for vultures to go out and find food, it's imperative that they have thermals to be able to lift them up higher, to be able to soar, cover a lot of distance. And it's only now that the thermals are just beginning, with this little bit of wind that you heard on the microphone earlier. Now, contrary to popular belief, vultures circling doesn't necessarily, in fact, it doesn't really mean that they are circling over a kill, because vultures don't circle over a kill. Vultures circle to gain height. So sometimes you might find vultures lifting off of a kill. Are you picking them up? And now we're looking into the sun.
No, it's still fine.
Yeah?
Yeah. Now they're in the clouds and directly into the sun.
Yeah. Too far back. So what they're doing is they're trying to get to about 2,000 feet. These are white-backed vultures. They soar at about 2,000 feet. And they're going to be finding, not necessarily a kill, they're going to be finding smaller scavengers, aerial scavengers, things like Botany, and another smaller vulture known as the hooded vulture. Now these three birds need to be, they're smaller than any of the other vultures, they need to be the first ones at a carcass, because not only do the larger vultures push them away, but they have smaller beaks. They get to the softer parts of the carcass before the bigger vultures come in and well, just oust them. vulture stacking, we call it. So the smaller vultures and the two eagles that do scavenge tend to start at a much lower altitude, at about 200 feet. And they're the ones that find the predator, or they're the ones that find the kill. And it's when they start dropping out of the sky, that the bigger vultures that are stacked at higher altitudes, it's only when they see that happening do they start coming in. So essentially what happens is when you do have a kill, or you do have a carcass, an animal that might die, you don't have vultures circling above it. It's a mad rush to get there as fast as possible. So they come in from all angles and they just drop out of the sky like vultures at the carcass.
Fair enough.
I've got to remember this immobilizer on this jigger. See, my Land Rover doesn't have it. I just get in and start it. And sometimes, and it's got nothing to do with being a man and not being able to multitask. It's got to do with my brain switching gears briefly. Because sometimes as I'm starting and I'm still talking to you and my brain isn't really thinking it because it's talking to you. And it can't multitask. It's just a slow
It
can't remember. No, it can't remember to press the little button to demobilize the immobilizer while I'm talking. Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. See this? Not needed anymore. A renovated jigger. The person who duct. Yeah, I had this all planned that I was gonna walk into shot holding this. It didn't work because I forgot it. Anyways, it was supposed to be subtle. Where was I? There's so much to tell you about this place, but that will come in time. It's not like we've only got one drive and that's it. We've got 3 months for me to tell you stuff. Okay, we've got an elephant pushed the tree over. I wonder if I should just push it with the jigger a little bit. Trying to think, because there we've got to undo the mast to get underneath there. I might be able. I know, but it might be easier to sneak around this side of the tree. This is a little acacia, and there's a black monkey called. Pardon?
Let's try it. Rather, yeah, let's go.
You mean go around where I am, Rob? Hello, Gecko. Oh, she's losing power as soon as I want to get power. It's easy enough to fix. There's an elephant dung in the road, pushing the tree over to get to some of the branches at the top, but also perhaps to get to some of the roots. As the dry season wears on, these trees, the reason why they lose their leaves is because they withdraw they stop nutrients and moisture from going to the leaves. They withdraw a lot of nutrients from the leaves and to store it in the roots for the dry season. You see, it's no good in a climate that is very, very dry to still have leaves and require photosynthesis to occur when there's no moisture coming in. So they become dormant. Some of them. They're going to be some of it, we'll see. But a lot of the trees do withdraw their leaves. Nutrients, drop leaves. Okay, so we got that signal issue. I'm going to try it means that we can have to go further south from where we are again. The road to head south. I do have a map with me. I'm not going to consult it right now. The best way to learn a place is drive it. How are we looking? You got me, Graham.
I'm just gonna have to learn some nice tricks through that.
Yeah. Now this is the top of the opposite ridge that I've been wanting to get to. And now we just want to try and drop down a little bit back towards the Botany River. Test drive. I can see the mountains from here.
Yeah.
So we'll eventually get to the point where we'll be, if we lose signal from camp, we'll be able to pick up the mountain will pick us up.
Yeah.
African monarch butterfly in here. Oh, my buttons are coming undone. Elephants have been at these marulas, gee. A lot of monkey orange. A lot of monkey orange. Strychnos. That's what I'm looking for. Have we lost? We have an antenna that sticks up at the back of the vehicle that allows us to broadcast. Basically, what we have on this vehicle is broadcast equipment that I guess you could say is normally in a closed outside broadcast van that you might find at a sporting event or a newscast. And we're in an open vehicle. But because we're in the bush, because this is Africa, and we're in the bush, we're going to have overhanging branches. There's going to be a time when we're going to be following things like leopards and lion, going off-road, and we're going to have to try and get underneath bushes and underneath trees. They're going to be exciting moments that it's no good to bother about what's sticking up on the vehicle. So the antenna has to be flexible, and it's on a spring, but it also has to be fixed for most of the time while we're driving. So we've got a quick release mechanism, and sometimes it touches a branch and it comes off, and the signal might waver a little bit. Thornybush Private Nature Reserve, actually. and the inhabitants of Thornybush, as well as, of course, those of us that are living here. There's myself and Brian on camera. We've got Rob back in camp, Rob, and Andy, and Aaron, and of course Leon, who's directing the post-production stuff. And I guess at some point we'll be meeting the rest of the crew on camera. I think maybe some of you were expecting a pretty young brunette sitting where I'm sitting right now.
We were going to put a wig on you.
You were going to put a wig on me.
That's the audience. I think that would have been a great reveal.
Well, that didn't happen.
He was almost there though.
Yeah, well, Cupid stepped in. The only thing we really have in common is the first 3 letters of our name. Other than we were both presented. Unfortunately, I didn't meet the young lady. But I might in the future.
Potentially maybe.
Okay. So, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I've spent most of my time in the bush, my life, adult life. The bush is my office. No, it's not my office. It's my world. It's my planet. It's my universe. It's what makes me breathe every day. It's what makes me want to get up in the morning. It is so diverse. There's just so much here that is so interesting and so phenomenal that a lifetime is not enough to learn all about this world. And this is only this little world. You know, I would need 100 lifetimes just to learn everything here, let alone other ecosystems like the South Americas or the countries in South America, Ecuador and Belize. Of course, Pantanal and the Amazon, and way down in Chile, the North American ecosystems, the what is left of Europe in terms of the wildlife areas of Europe, the vast areas of Asia, Northern Asia and Russia, the archipelagos of Indonesia and Polynesia, and the various habitats and diversities that you find on all those islands. It's quite daunting, actually, being a naturalist, being somebody who is just so driven by what lives and breathes and shares the planet with us, to think of all the creatures and things that there are to learn. So the only thing really is to find one particular place for a period of time, concentrate on that, and learn as much as one can about it. And I think it's for that reason that I have moved around considerably in my life, my short life. I'm not telling you how short it is. Some people know, some people have seen on Facebook. But because Africa, and this is the wonderful thing about Africa, because Africa is so vast, we could travel 20 miles from here and have a different ecosystem. We might have most of the same animal species, but the ecosystem is different, and with a different ecosystem is a different density of animals, and the different density of animals dictates all different behaviors and things. And then, well, we can talk about that in time. It's going to be something else to discuss in time. But I think one of the things that drove me to explore different parts of Africa is, first of all, I'm in love with Africa. Second of all, if there aren't elephants, I can't live there. It's just the criteria in terms of my life. I can stay in places and learn places, but in terms of places to live and work, if there are no elephants, there's no point. No,
Me, my favourite animal is the warthog. Don't ask why.
That just happens.
I have to admit, the elephants are absolutely incredible.
good, 30 dB. Now, some Impala up ahead. Impala are an antelope named after a Chevrolet. Yes. Thank you, Rob. A little bit difficult, a little bit shy. Yeah, no, they've gone deep into that quarry bush. Well, the one thing about Impala, and we don't have to worry about getting these Impala, is we are going to see Impala. We're going to have many opportunities to see them. We're at a very interesting time as far as Impala is concerned, or are concerned, because we have just started the rutting season. And so there's this split between the males and the females, and the one dominant male that will be in charge of a herd of females, and how, that's very interesting, how he has to fight to keep other males away to ensure that his genes, he can impregnate as many of those females in his herd as possible. They're all coming into estrus right now. This is what drives the whole rutting season, is that the females come into estrus. Their estrus pheromones are picked up by the males, and sort of the testosterone levels increase, and it triggers this competition amongst them, where they form bachelor herds. Within the bachelor herds, they have their own hierarchy. This is a hierarchy that has established itself over time, since these males have been as young as the males are that we'll see within the herds. They reach between, I'd say, a year and a half, and they start getting ousted from the herd and have to find a bachelor herd to join up in. And within that bachelor herd, they get pushed around a lot by the older males. And so as they grow up over the years, at this time of the year only, they have to sort out amongst their own age group, their own hierarchy, and then as they grow up, fall into the hierarchy that already exists with the older males. And it's only the really dominant males that are fit and strong enough that will hold sway over a group of females. And we will hopefully see some more interaction. Oh, I'm going to have to move that. It's not going to work there. Okay, see, this is why we have a test drive. We're testing all the different ways to things. One thing that we need to work on is my microphone, so that you can hear me, and so that I don't burst Brian's eardrums every time I bump it. That might work now.
Well, I've got 2 years.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to destroy your options for listening to music in stereo for the rest of your life.
Thank you, you're so considerate.
So that's just a touch on how the Impala are behaving at the moment. It's better to talk to you about it when we see them, and we're going to see them. They're the most common antelope. They're this antelope that is just the right size. They're eaten by just about every predator, including the largest snake in Africa, the largest, I was going to say reptile, but snake's a reptile. The largest, well, crocodile is not a lizard. Okay, big crocodiles. They're eaten by crocodiles, they're eaten by pythons, they're eaten by all of the canids and felids, or not all, but most of. Canids being African wild dog, and jackal. Jackal will take youngsters. They're eaten by all the cats, lion, leopard, cheetah. Caracal could probably take youngsters. They're eaten by hyena, which are neither cat nor dog, but they're closer related to the cats than they are the dogs, based on certain anatomical similarities. They're eaten by eagles, marshal eagles, and of course they're eaten by a certain species of primates that no longer lives wild, become domesticated, wears clothes, and is generally Us humans, I mean. No, the African monarch. The monarch. African monarchs don't migrate. Monarchs. Same as the North American monarchs, in that they are milkweed butterflies. They feed on the milkweed. However, ours don't migrate. We don't have those extremes of temperatures that require them to fly to warmer climes. We do have a migrating butterfly, however. There's a gardenia. I did see one gardenia flower the other day, strangely enough. Up in Salati. I came straight from Salati to here. I was in Salati over the weekend. Lovely little game reserve. It's almost the same size as Thornybush. In fact, it is the same size as Thornybush. Also self-contained. Has the same composition of animals that Thornybush has. Yet, difference in human behavior has dictated a difference in the animal behavior, and that's another thing that we can discuss. Another thing that I can tell you about. I'm thinking of all these things that I'm dying to just talk about. Something's happening on the radio.
Potentially gone out of range again.
Something happening on the radio. Keying the mic or something. It's just buzzing in my ear. Static. Yeah. I don't know, unless we're out of... Wonderful. Getting a message back from FC that everything's looking good. I like that. I like to hear those type of things. Everything's looking good. I need to find a road that can take me back east a little bit. One of the things that is important in terms of finding animals is looking for tracks. I might have been talking about something and then I might get distracted. Something you'll have to get used to with me is that I can talk about something while I'm talking to you about something. I'll see something else, and it's just the way my mind works, is that I've got to tell you about what I've suddenly seen and then I might forget about this wonderful story I was telling you, and that's where this interaction with you, the viewer, comes in, is because you can remind me and say, Mark, you were telling us about this and then you were distracted by this.
Never mind the cameraman on the back is also listening. Thanks,
Yes.
Mark. Thanks.
Okay, Brian. Oh, you too. If you can follow.
I'll try. I'll do my best.
Remind me that I was telling you about something. Lots of worry. Magic worry. Buffalo thorn. Silver cluster leaf. A little bit of round leaf teak thrown in. Pterocarpus undiffolia. There's a shepherd's tree.
There's quite a variety out there.
Oh yeah. Shepherd's tree. There's a little small wattle and a baby jackalberry. Only about 100 years old and it's only about 15 feet high. Another smaller tree. One of my favorite trees, jackalberries. But then again, sometimes I'll be seeing something and I'll say it's one of my favorites, and you'll hear over the next 3 months that I've got a lot of favorites. It depends on what I'm looking at. So once again, just to reiterate, we are at the end of the wet season. We're at the end of summer, and the bush is very, very thick. We've had very late rains. In contrast to last year's summer was a completely different scenario altogether. We had one rain. We had almost the entire summer rainfall in 18 hours. In an area where, in fact, for me back home, I had 2 years worth of rain in 18 hours. Where I am, which is further north, east of here, up in the Timbavati, rainfall averages around 250 millimeters in a year. I'd say for Thornybush it's a little bit further south, maybe 300 to 400 mils, same as sort of northern Sabi Sand. Down in the southern part of the Sabi Sand, rainfall increases to about 500-600 mils a year. And last year in January, 18th of January, after a relatively dry spring and early summer, we'd had one rainfall in December, but then the heavens opened and the universe decided to give us 2 years of rain in 18 hours and nothing thereafter. So by this time the year last year, everything was really, really dry. Here we had really good rains only a couple of weeks ago. In fact, right now on new moon, we've just gone into new moon, just before new moon, typical new moon rains occurred. So it's still lovely and green. So, animals as a result are spread out. That is why it is going to be a mission. It is going to be exciting. Because we don't know what we're going to see. We can come around the next bend and see something absolutely incredible. We could also we could come around the corner and see something, or we could spend another hour driving. And this is what live drive is all about. Is that you watch a documentary on TV and you've got edited footage that gives you boom, 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 so much to view in such a short amount of time. But this is the reality. This is Africa. This is how it works for real. Is that these animals aren't tied to trees. They are not in the same place every day. There has to be. This is the way life has to work here is that everything has to be random. Not random, but nothing can be really routine. In terms of animal movement and animal behavior, everything has to be different every day. There's a nice big open patch to my right, like we're back on the river. You can see the reeds on the Thornybush River. I remember this lovely big apple leaf rain tree. Get that, Brian?
Yep, I did indeed.
And we are back on the river because I want to find a big grey thing, one of those things with big ears. Maybe I need to go a little bit to the side. Or just drop it. See, overhanging tree. We call Acacia tortilis, the umbrella thorn, the very typical umbrella-shaped flat-crowned acacia, flat-top acacia. So it's basically just unclipping the aerial and the antenna. I think we'll try that crossing that way. Oh, there's a raptor that's just flown out of this tree. Small raptor. Yeah, and it's going to go deep into that tree. Thank you. Now heading back to the original crossing we came over earlier on, back to where that buffalo was, and maybe we'll just try and follow the river a little bit for the last few minutes of our morning drive. We're not going to be out for very long. We do have to stick to rules. The one thing about about Thornybush is that me, as the guide, as the person driving, as the naturalist, have got to stick to a code of conduct. But as a whole, Wild Earth, we have to stick within guidelines that they gave us, and it's quite important that the drives, the times of the drives from the various lodges here in Thornybush have specific hours. There are various reasons for that, and of course we need to fall within that parameter. And just being a test drive, we heading out. Well, we're out now, but we're going to be stopping in a few minutes on the top of the hour, and our live drives, morning and evening drives, are going to tie in pretty much with the time that all the lodge vehicles are out. It does also help us in that they are going to be on the radio. They're going to be broadcasting sightings of different animals that we will be able to go to at some point and interact with. I'll be interacting with them on the radio. Beautiful jackalberry. There's some beautiful trees here, they really are. I'm a bit of a tree hugger myself.
Sorry, Mark, we're blocking you from the world at the moment.
That's okay. Especially this riparian vegetation. There's specific trees that you'll find on rivers. The size of that buffalo thorn, huge. Actually, I don't know if you can get it, but on the side of that buffalo thorn, on that trunk, you can see that an elephant has been rubbing its, where an elephant has rubbed the mud off of it. I will, in time, be able to tell you more about that process of mud bathing and rubbing. Another lovely big gardenia, but yeah, I think it's going to be difficult to find a flower this time of the year. But a very typical gardenia flower, and of course, because it's a gardenia, the scent is heavenly. It's the most beautiful scent, particularly at night. It's one of those trees that scent better at night because of the pollinators that they're attracting. They want to attract a particular pollinator by its scent. Okay. Cool. Jigger jigger. It is called the jigger because that's what we do. Jigger means to turn. Turn, jigger jigger. We jigger jigger. We jigger here, we jigger there. It is jigger jigger. That is the jackalberry. Now the jackalberry, I don't know if we're going to pick that one up. We'll try and just turn, and we will be seeing a lot of these trees, and you'll find that I will be trying to point out some individual specimens. This one's a little bit hidden, its trunk. And this is a tree that has probably been here for 500-600 years, or even more for that matter. And it's actually a true ebony. It's one of the true ebonies, belongs to the family, the ebony family. Jackalberry. Why jackalberry? Because, well, the berries, the fruits are edible and palatable. The distinction between the two. Some things are edible, but not palatable. Yeah, it's not the best, unfortunately. Maybe one day in the afternoon when we're from that side, we'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to find specific specimens that we can look at, because it's going to, as I said earlier, the time of the year that we are now is in a time of the year when everything is going through a change. And although we're going to see a change in the animals and things in terms of their behavior and their utilization of the bush around us, it's the change in the vegetation that would be nice to keep track of certain trees. You know, when I was in Tanzania recently, I was up there for a few months at the end of last year, a really beautiful national park. There were certain trees, individual, particularly certain baobabs, and some of the best and biggest baobabs I've ever seen. Baobab forests. That there were individuals that, because I was there, perhaps the opposite time of the year to now, it was the end of the dry season going into the wet season. I was filming. I was taking photographs of individual trees and able to take photographs of the same tree from the same angle right throughout the 2.5, nearly 3 months that I was there. I don't know if you can pick this up here.
I saw it. I'm going to try.
Just read out the way. lovely orange. This is actually looks like a chili. You know?
Yeah, here we go.
Actually, belongs to the gourd family, the cucumber family. And as to its palatability or edibility, I'm not too sure. Now, there's little yellow flowers higher up. Now, see, one thing I've got to do is a flower for the ladies. That's one of them. Can you pick up that little yellow flower? Got a little bit of stuff in between. But before I say goodbye to you, I've got to show you a flower.
There we go.
And that is because I know there are a bunch of ladies out there that have been waiting for a flower from me for a long time.
Is this your gift to them?
That and that lovely little purple morning glory in the background there.
Ah, there you go.
Oh.
Yeah, there it is.
Right, now you would reverse a little bit. The flower that I've forgotten its name because I haven't seen it for a long time. But I'm sure by the next drive I will get its name. I'll just remind myself in the book. That lovely bunch of white.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, there we get that.
I'm going to attempt to find a flower for the ladies every day.
A different one.
A different flower. Different flower. Of course, after a week or two, I can then find the flower I found before. Cause
No. New flower every day.
new flower every day for 90 days.
By accident,
Okay. It's a good challenge.
You need to savor them.
Plus, we've got some species that actually come into flower now, going into the dry season, which would be interesting. It'd be nice to find things like Clinia fulgens, which is the coral senecio, maybe in one or two of these dry riverbeds. I have seen some Tacoma flowering. There has been an acacia I've seen in flower. So yeah, it's a good challenge.
It is a good challenge.
Okay.
I
But
think
now,
it's a difficult challenge.
so now I've got 2 days worth of credit because it's
No,
three.
you can't say that.
No,
You've
I've-
revealed 1, 2, 3, and an orange thing. That's unfortunate. That was 2 days worth.
I was just lucky they're all here in the same place. So, there were these baobabs that I was photographing all the time. I still got to get to a point where I can crop them in a particular way and put them together so that I can flip through all those photographs of the same baobab as it comes into flower and then comes into leaf. And of course, during that whole process, I've got eagles, and one day I've got eagles in the tree, another day I've got vultures in the tree, another day I've got elephants underneath the tree. I thought I saw something there, but I didn't. There are also going to be a lot of things here that I don't know because it's a new area for me, and that's why I've got my whole library next to me. Not my whole. I've got a fraction of my library. Only the books that I could fit into the box I could put in here, and others I've got other books I've got in my room. And well, worst comes to worst, I'll have to Google something. I do much prefer going through books because after 40 years of going through flower books, there are flowers that I've seen in the book so many times that sometimes I'll recognize a flower, but I might never have learnt its name, but I'll have seen it in the book and I'll had some idea about its family or something. So what we're doing, we're going back onto the southern side of the Timbavati River. As its name suggests, it flows down through the Timbavati, unfortunately doesn't go anywhere near where I live in the Botany, right up there in the north. Closer to the Olifants River than the Timbavati River, funny enough. Oh, look at that. There's a heron. One of the herons is actually a bittern. With a greenback. We haven't even... Yeah, it's the greenback heron. Very, very interesting heron. Incredible ability to adapt to different circumstances when they're fishing. What he's doing is there are very small tilapia in this river. And I've seen footage of a greenback heron sitting with a fisherman on the banks of a river, stealing a piece of his bread, either from his sandwiches or from his bait, taking the piece of bread and popping it in the stream. It's not a very fast flowing stream, but popping it into the stream and then rushing a little bit downstream and waiting for the piece of bread to come past with the fish nibbling on it, and then either grabbing the fish or taking the bread and popping it upstream again. And this constant process of this heron learning to use bait like a human does, except of course it doesn't have opposable thumbs, so it's pretty hard for it to use a fishing reel, but it's got that lovely stabbing beak that is able to, you might even see it hunting right now. I hope we're not getting too much wind noise. Once again, we've got the stiff breeze blowing down the river. The water level, another thing we're going to be seeing is this water level dropping over the next few days, in fact, as the water table drops, leaving pools and puddles. And that's where another interesting thing comes in that I'm looking forward to, is that when these pools and puddles start forming, because the water level drops, it'll still flow, it'll flow at a much slower pace underneath the sand, but it'll leave surface pools, and those surface pools will trap a lot of frogs and fish, and that's when the herons and the hamerkops and the storks will be going crazy, and even the fish eagles for that matter. Looking forward to that. So all in all, I think this is an exciting time. Into the reeds now, the heron. Okay. Up to camp.
Oh, what a letdown. I thought I was going to catch some.
I thought so too. Well, maybe because it doesn't have any bread. Oh, we're stuck.
Come on, guys.
You can push, Brian.
Sure thing.
I've already been barefoot in this water. It's cold. Do you?
Easy does.
Only kidding. This is a beep beep sensor, but not. No. Can. It's a Land Rover. What can I say? Not plugging products. Look at this jackalberry growing in this dead tree.
Hold on, let's see. Sure, yeah, when you zoom in there it is.
Yeah. Actually, it's quite an interesting combination of things happening here. We've got a tree that has died of natural causes. It wasn't ring-barked by elephants, so it wasn't killed before its time. Probably died of old age. It was I don't know, I have to think hard about it, because it's that bark, I'm not sure. It wasn't a jackalberry, it's too light. But just to the right of the jackalberry in that fork, you can see that bracket fungus. And if you come down from the jackalberry, there's some more. But all the way up through this tree, on the bark that is coming off, are these bracket fungi. Very important process in nature, because that's the only thing. Fungus is one of the only things that can break down the cellulose of plant cells. There's a primate next to us, jumping through the jackalberry. And that lovely peep, peep, peep of the tinker barbet. We didn't even talk about birds yet, but we're going to be talking about birds. I'm hoping we're going to see some really special birds. Africa has an incredible selection. We have, I would say, the possibility of finding, now in winter we don't have the migrants, but there's got to be easy 300 species of birds that we should be able to. Well, it'd be difficult to get all 300 in 3 months, but
you've got to do one flower a day and every bird.
A new bird a day.
New bird a day, at least two.
Well, we've done the heron. So that bracket fungus is helping to decompose that plant, that tree rather, and in the process returning nutrients into the soil, nutrients that have been depleted from the soil because that tree has taken so many years to grow and it's kind of used up a lot of the nutrients around it, its roots. So the decomposition process is vital to put all of that back into the soil for new growth to come. Live and breathe and grow and die and feed the soil. That's the function of every living creature, including us. Here is a jacket plum. Pity they don't have any fruit on them. One of the tastiest little berries, jacket plums. They're these juicy little, they don't look anything like a plum, only in colour. But they're these juicy little berries encased in this little jacket with a velvety outer. And the jacket splits open to reveal the little fleshy fruit inside, and you need to pop a few in your mouth. It's like the false marula. False marula should be fruiting at the moment. That's something we can taste. I know you can't taste it because you're all out there. We haven't got taste vision yet, haven't got smell vision yet, but I'll try and explain it to you. I'll try and Brian will taste and he'll try and tell you what things taste like. It's hard to say things taste like something or they smell like something because most of the time they have such unique tastes or unique smells. So I'd say we're coming towards the end of our morning this morning. It's wonderful that we managed to get out. It's been wonderful being back here in this jigger. I love this car, I really do. I've got an older version of this and I've always thought when my car grows up or when I grow up I'll get one like it. My ideal car is this exact model, almost, different engine. This particular model was built when the company was owned by a very prominent Bavarian motor company, and so it has a very prominent Bavarian motor company's engine in it. But in terms of practicality, in terms of having driven various different four-wheel drive vehicles, off-road, on-road, through different conditions in different countries. I wonder what that was. That a camera that fell down?
No, it was my shoe.
You want some duct tape?
No, it's alright.
And somehow this particular vehicle for me is the ultimate. And so it sparks arguments amongst us guides and amongst the off-roading, or not off-roading, but the farming and bush communities as to which is the best vehicle, and they never get agreement, of course. The bottom line is how they perform. I'm going here. Come this way on the Thornybush vehicles. Auf schön, auf schön. Right. How many lions? Okay. And do you know which way they went from Jacoberry Edge? Okay, but thanks for the info. I need as much info as I can. Thanks a lot. So this is how the bush telegraph works. Meeting up with other vehicles and guides. Apart from, of course, the radio that will tell us some things. I think I'm going to stop here and say goodbye to you before we go back into camp. Oh, sorry, Graham, I didn't get that.
Just say Charles will be back at 3.
Okay. Earpiece just came out of my ear there. But this is Africa, and this is how it works. You know, we've got to spread the word around a little bit. And exciting news that there were lions seen last night. 2 lionesses and 2 cubs on a particular area. I'm going to look up on the map and see more or less where that is. And hopefully this afternoon. We're going to be back at around 3 o'clock Central African time. And I hope you can all work out your time zones. But it's fairly easy. We're 2 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time. Which is, of course, as I say, Central African time. We'll be back here at 3. My name is Mark. This has been Brian on camera. And, well, we'll get to know the rest of the crew soon. Bye-bye, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us.